Thank you, Veronique. I appreciate the introduction. Yes, I'm definitely on a 24-hour clock, but I think that that's in these times, and I think this conference illustrates just how it is that even though we are all separate in many ways, we can easily become connected, and it's become technologies like this allow that to happen so much more easily now, even now than it was, say, a year ago. So without further ado, let me give you a brief overview of just to get everyone situated when we talk about British Columbia and what that means. I have a quick slide deck to run us through, and then I will introduce our esteemed panelists, and we'll get into the discussion about what are the opportunities in BC, again, in light of what's happening now and what is probably going to be happening for the next 12 to 24 months. So let me share our overview. There we go. Veronique, can you see this?
I can see it, but we have to check whether it's people on YouTube can actually see it.
Okay.
Because we had some issue with the first session that
it's good.
Yeah, perfect.
Merci. Okay, so a brief snapshot of BC's technology sectors, but let's situate it within BC in general. So we've reoriented the map of the world so you can see how it is that BC is connected to so many parts of the world. We are over on the west coast, right on the edge of the ocean here. We have strong relationships with the United States, with the west coast of the United States. In many ways, we're sister cities with Seattle and its tech scene, and it's not far to San Francisco and Silicon Valley and Los Angeles. On the other, all the way over across the Pacific Ocean, we have very strong ties with Asia, through Hong Kong, through Taiwan, of course, through Japan, through Singapore, and onto India. We have a strong diaspora in BC from India and from Pakistan as well. It's a quick flight to Europe for us, relatively speaking. It's a 9-hour direct flight to Paris, and so I'd like to think in many ways that BC is a bit of a bridge to the world, is that once it is that you come here, it's easy to get to Asia, it's easy to get to Europe, and we are in many ways a province of immigrants, of people from abroad, and although we have foundations of thousands of years of people who have lived here, in the last, say, 100 years, there's been a tremendous population boom, and so there's a lot of people from other places who are connected to other places, and that's how BC reflects itself in its tech sectors and in its economy as well. Just so you can see how BC is organized, we're a fairly large province, physically speaking, but most of the technology businesses are located down in the southwest corner, in and around Vancouver proper. Just over to the east in the Thompson Okanagan, which has a slightly different physical landscape. It's a little bit of a drier climate. The wine is out there. Has a good tech sector as well. And over on the island and the extreme coast, they have a strong tech sector, certainly in Victoria, and there's a tech hub in Nanaimo as well. And then we'll go to just some brief overview of the facts and figures of the BC ecosystems. So we have a strong talent base that's coming out of the post-secondary institutions. For a province of our size, it's pretty impressive that we have 42 post-secondary institutions. We graduate 3,000 engineering students and 1,500 computer science students every year. In terms of our economy, in many ways, it's driven by small businesses. There's 508,000 of them plus, and of that, 70% of our employed population works in small and medium businesses. 30% of our startups are founded by immigrants. And 31% of our small and medium businesses are women-owned. So there's a certain degree of overlap. There's a certain degree of immigrants who are also women. But if you look broadly, it's there is, as much as there is room for more work on diversity and inclusion, BC is making strong steps towards being a more representative, having its economy be more representative of its population. So I realize that this is a lot to take in, but just as a snapshot of BC's tech ecosystem, we have a variety of different companies. We have a variety of different customer bases that are large companies. We have multinational presences in BC, particularly in Vancouver. Government support here is strong, I would say. France, it's very strong as well. BC is oriented towards growing itself in new sectors in particular, and we'll get into more in that when we talk to Shivam KISHORE from the Vancouver Economic Commission. Our research hubs here are very good. And I say very good because we have two very world-class universities, certainly UBC and SFU, both are produce tremendous talent and have strong research in blockchain, in AI, and certainly in marine research. Our training opportunities, we mentioned the 42 different post-secondary institutions that are in place here and graduating, and our investors. It's interesting in my mind. There are investors that are BC based. Most of our investors are from abroad. And interestingly enough, we'll get in this later, but COVID didn't have a big impact on the amount of investment coming into BC because BC is considered a safe place, a stable place, a good place to invest, and because most of our investors are from abroad. Some of the technology companies in BC that you might recognize, there's some big names in here, and I'll shine a spotlight down on stem cell technologies. It has a presence in Grenoble as well and has had for many years, and Veronique knows them very well. So we're very pleased by our connection to Grenoble in many ways, and stem cell is one of them. A few, just an overview, just to give you an idea of the VC deals that have come through in BC. I think one of the companies that you might recognize would be D-Wave. There are significant deals that have come through BC, and if you look at the VCs that are involved, there are a number of internationals that have come through. And then we'll get into the technology sectors, which is a nice segue, I think, to our panelists today, because we have panelists from a number of these sectors. ICT evidently is strong in BC, as is transportation, our position on the West Coast, and our history in resource development, and really we're a port city, have been, and will continue to be, and we are evolving our transportation sector and our supply chain sector and our logistics sector in a variety of different ways, enabled by AI, enabled by clean tech, enabled by et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Life sciences is something that we have a strength in. We'll have Stacey Wallen, who is representing both her company and her position on the Canadian Accelerator and Incubator Network, and her company is an example of ways it is that BC is involved in supporting healthcare. Digital media is very strong in the traditional sense that there's a lot of movies made in BC, there's a lot of TV that's made in BC, but we've taken that to the next step as well in terms of AR and VR. Clean tech, very strong here. Catriona will get into that, but it's one of BC. I'm very pleased to shine a spotlight on how it is that BC has grown in its clean tech sector. And emerging tech, we have Handel Kim here from the AI in BC Association, and I think you could make the argument that applied AI in BC, it's second to none in the world. It's a strong statement. Canadians, we don't tend to toot our own horns, but we are very strong in that sector. And certainly through what has happened in the last 6 to 9 months, the AI sector has stepped up in a big way. Oh, good. Shivam is joining us. That's wonderful. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our panelists to you. Just let me make sure that everyone is here so that they can hear me. Let me stop sharing this. And I'm sorry, Veronique, I'm going to try and stop sharing.
That's a tricky one. Okay.
It is.
I know you're still sharing.
Better?
Looks okay.
Okay, perfect. So we have here today, oh good, we have everyone. We have Stacy Wallen, we have Katriona Power, we have Handel Kimmel, we have Shivam Kishore. Let me run through their bios, with these are indeed esteemed panelists with illustrious backgrounds. Stacy, I'll introduce first. She is the founder and executive director of CAIN, as I mentioned, that's the Canadian Accelerator and Incubator Network. She has a background in founding and scaling companies and in the investment banking industry. Through her role as director of venture programs of the BC Tech Association, she led the team developing accelerators for companies in BC with a mandate for solving the largest ecosystem and policy-related challenges facing growth and scale stage technology companies. Stacy herself has founded 3 organizations, including CAIN. The first was Life Booster, a tech startup now helping Fortune 100 clients detect and proactively respond to workplace injury risks. Stacy is also currently the Chief Strategy Officer and co-founder of Numinous, which is a publicly traded company, and I will break to say that they went public during COVID. It's publicly traded on the TSX in Vancouver. It's creating an ecosystem of health solutions centered around developing and supporting the safe, evidence-based, and accessible use of psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, and is at the forefront of addressing the growing prevalence of mental health issues and the desire for greater wellness. Welcome to Stacy. Katriona Power is the Vice President of Partnerships and Strategy at Foresight Clean Tech Accelerator. She leads the high-profile programs at Foresight and successfully delivered the core clean tech cluster strategy for the province of British Columbia for 2019 to 2020. She has worked at the intersection of business, sustainability, and technology for the last 9 years with organizations in Canada, the UK, and Europe. Katriona has an MA in Environment, Development, and Policy from the University of Sussex, UK, and a BSc International Development from the University College Cork in Ireland. Welcome to Katriona. Handel Kim is co-founder and CEO of Variational AI, an AI for drug discovery startup based in Vancouver. Variational AI is applying its state-of-the-art generative AI to generate novel drug-like small molecules that are efficacious, safe, and synthesizable in months versus years. And prior to co-founding Variational AI, Handel was general manager of the Quadrant AI business unit at D-Wave Systems and brings over 20 years of executive management experience and leadership from venture-backed startups and publicly listed technology companies in cloud, mobile embedded, and telecommunication software in Silicon Valley, Canada, and Asia Pacific. He has led global sales teams, strategic development, and product delivery to some of the world's largest companies. Welcome to Handel. And sorry, last but not least is Shivam Kishore, who I am going to introduce you now because I'm going to turn the discussion questions to you first. Shivam is the Manager of Technology Sector Strategy and Partnerships at the Vancouver Economic Commission. He leads and manages technology sector initiatives at that agency, which is an agency of the City of Vancouver. At the VEC, he's leading the development of strategic programs, including active advocacy and policy initiatives to catalyze rapid adoption of a digital innovation economy in Vancouver, British Columbia, with a focus on equity and sustainability. Shivam has an educational background in biomedical engineering and machine learning and over 13 years experience as a management consultant with the United Nations, Ernst & Young, and Deloitte. Welcome to Shivam. So welcome to all our panelists. And as I said, I'm going to start with turning attention to Shivam. I want to talk about the ecosystem in BC. And so I thought, let's start with Vancouver. I'll segue to Grenoble. Grenoble was recently, and congratulations to Grenoble, it was recently recognized as one of the green capitals of Europe. Vancouver and BC in general is moving strongly towards becoming a more, in quotes, green economy. Formerly, we were very resource-driven, Shivam, and you and I have talked about this, and we still are. However, I'd like you to talk a little bit about what we had talked about earlier, about how it is that we are changing, evolving, and our focus is for the future. You talked a bit about supply chain management, how it is that we're going to evolve that, and how your your role at the Vancouver Economic Commission is enabling our economy of the future.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. Lovely to be here, and thank you for the introduction. I think that's a very kind introduction. Definitely. So I think Vancouver, like you said, traditionally has been a more resource-focused economy, but the whole movement in the last 10 years, I would say 10, 15 years, and even before that, has been working to transition Vancouver's economy to a more knowledge-based economy, focusing tremendously on emerging tech, AI being one, and then clean technology. And Catherine and Handel can speak extensively to that. But really what we are looking at the Commission is how do we accelerate that pace of moving away from resource-based to knowledge-based. And our tech sector, which incorporates digital technologies, clean technologies, emerging technologies, is sort of a testament to that effort where, you know, tech sector is the largest sector in the city now. It is the largest employer of talent in the city. It's about 25,000 tech professionals in and around the city. It is sort of one of the top ranked cities for tech talent when it comes to ranking talents and competitiveness of talents versus sort of the work areas. And particularly during COVID, the city has shown tremendous resiliency in how that knowledge-based economy can work towards its benefits. So whether that's looking at having localized supply chains, so moving away from the idea of having tremendous dependencies on global supply chains will always be there, but can we create a more circular, more localized supply chain management? That's certainly an area of focus. And again, one big area in addition to that is the transition towards a more cleaner, greener economy. So leveraging those strengths that we have from a resource-based economy and reskilling, reapplying a lot of those mindsets and skill sets to a transition economy, which is towards a greener, cleaner future.